Hey, I'm Brian Van, sportbiketractor.com, and today we're going to break down the Armour Bodies race bodywork install on our 2018 STG Kawasaki Ninja 400 project bike. Okay, we had previously installed Hot Bodies race bodywork on the Ninja 400, and that kit turned out really good. It fit nice. We also offer Armour Bodies here at STG, so we wanted to get that kit and install it on our 400 so you could see the differences between the two and choose the one that you feel makes the most sense for you. As you can see, I've already got it painted, it's fitted, it's stickered, the whole deal is done. Right? As we go throughout this video, I'm going to pull all the panels off. I'm going to show you exactly where I drilled and anything I had to do to get it to fit as good as it does fit right now. How do I feel about it? I love it. The stuff fits great. It looks great. It is different than the Hot Bodies kit is. We're going to point out some of those differences right now. Let's open up with just a nice 360-degree view of how it all came together. You can see the lines on the bodywork are very nice. Everything's very tidy. The kit consists of an upper fairing. We have these kind of hybrid mid panels here. These interlock with the upper, with this stock trim panel and the tail section. Here's where it meets the lower fairing. I used on this kit a total of 10 rivet style deuce fasteners. You could use slip style if you want, if you prefer to do that. I like to use the rivet style. I think you just get a more permanent, higher quality result out of it. You can see here all the lines where they follow the bike. I also have the Woodcraft Superbike seat pan on this motorcycle, right? This changes the seat height, it raises it a little bit, puts you in a more ergonomic position on this bike, which is, I think, a good advantage on the racetrack. It also helps make the clip-ons feel a little bit lower. We'll do a separate video on that. The tail section is in two pieces, and we've seen this on the last few Armour Bodies kits that we've done. You have this opening here that removes, and it makes the tail a lot easier to install. You don't have to really trim brackets or anything off. Because of that cutout, you're able to slide it right over, and this is also a great access point for things like the ECU flash cable. If you have the bike, the ECU flash, your power commander can be back here. Easy access to things like that so you can get right to them when you're at the track. It's also important to note one of the big differences between this kit and the Hot Bodies kit. The Hot Bodies kit, I had to trim the undertail, okay, right here on that line. You can see that. I trimmed it, I threw the piece out, of course, and then when I go to install the Armour Bodies kit, this kit is designed to work with the full stock under tray, okay? So there would be no trimming at all. What I had to do to compensate for the fact that I already cut it is I had to get a piece of plastic and form a little closeout panel so I didn't have a big opening down here. I just really didn't want to go out and purchase a new OEM undertail and install it on the bike. So I was able to cobble something together, and I'll show you that later in the video, that I think really turned out pretty good given the circumstances. Continuing around the bike, same concept here on the other side. There's that hybrid mid, lower, you can see the lines. Everything is really nice to fit. I would rate excellent. This literally fit like a high quality set of race bodywork. I think anybody would be happy with it. It is a complicated install due to the number of deuce fasteners that you're using and the number of panels that are involved with it, and also how they intersect with these OEM closeout panels on either side of the motorcycle. This we saw previously on the Yamaha R3, and it just complicates the install a little bit, but I think this video is going to be a really good guide to help you get the same end result that I did. It's also important to note another big difference between this and the Hot Bodies kit is going to be the dash. The Hot Bodies kit has you removing the dash from this OEM panel here and installing it on the actual fiberglass upper fairing itself. where the Armour Bodies kit has you reusing this panel that mounts the cluster to it. So two areas that are really different is there is reuse of this panel here up front, and in the back, you use the whole OEM under tray. There is no trimming. Last piece to the kit, of course, is the front fender. You can see that there, that fits great, was a very easy install. When we come back, I'll have the bike completely disassembled. I'm going to show you exactly where I drilled anything I had to do to get it to fit as good as it does. Okay, I always like to start off with the tail section. In my experience, this is one of the most complicated pieces to install. As I stated earlier, Woodcraft and Armour Bodies have really made the tail section a lot easier. The last few kits that we've done, they have this cutout design, right? Got it on my Gixxer, we got it on the R3, and we have it here. By cutting this out, this allows you to slide this over. This subframe initially had all these brackets here and here. I had to cut those off to work with the Hot Bodies kit, okay? By having this cutout, you could leave all those brackets on there. You shouldn't have to trim any of that off, and my expectation would be it would slide right over. Additionally, it is shaped to accept the full OEM undertail. You can see I cut it right here. Okay, and that's what you do with the Hot Bodies kit. That's the way it works. There were two holes, right, that were dimpled here on the bodywork. I drilled dead center of the dimple. Those are two holes you use to mount up. This piece that you see here, I actually made that out of a piece of plastic. It was a plastic tray. These three fasteners, these are windscreen well nuts. I put those in here just to fill this gap. I didn't want to buy the whole under tray for this. I could change my mind later on down the road, unbolt this, but this way I can use both my Hot Bodies and my Armour Bodies kit, okay? You will not have to do this. What you see happening right here, that is not something you're gonna have to do. I also drilled, as you can see, centered there, and then your two main anchoring bolts right back here, those were drilled dead center. For this little panel, what I did is this panel actually was dimpled, okay? And I drilled through this on the dimples, and then I marked through the hole that I drilled with a Sharpie, and then I went ahead and did the rivet on style deuce fastener. Okay, now we just need to slide it over. Really pretty simple here. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find a way to make it look tougher than it really is. That cutout makes all the difference in the world, okay? Slide that up in a position. Go ahead and get the fasteners. These fasteners are a couple that I had in just my spare fasteners. They have a little bigger head on them than the OE fasteners that were used did. Just gonna get them started. We're not gonna torque them down all the way right now. It is also important anytime you tighten these fasteners to remember that that's fiberglass that you have in between there. So you don't want to go hog wild on these things and just crush the fiberglass. At the end of the day, they really only need to be so tight. In this area here, I'm going to use a couple of cable ties to secure that. What I found over the years is by doing that, instead of having a fastener, I like to use the cable ties anywhere where it really makes sense. In the event you have a crash, it seems to damage the bodywork less, reduce the amount of damage to the bodywork, making the repair easier, which is never a bad thing. The Hot Bodies kit, we had a little fall, unfortunately, a couple weeks back. And you know, the way I had that mounted, it really came out of the crash pretty good situation, so not very difficult to repair. That's at the painters right now. I have all my paint work done at Detroit Custom Paint. My man Brian Pfeiffer takes care of this stuff for me, does a fantastic job, him and his guys over there. Okay, so that's just another anchor point right there. You want to make sure you trim off. Okay. We're going to use two of the OEM fasteners under here. Just going to repeat myself again. Yours is going to look different than mine because I had already cut this undertail to work with the hot bodies. And then we're going to run a cable tie through the bodywork here, through that OEM undertail. I think this little piece I cobbled up is pretty good. You know, ideally, you're not going to have to do that, you know, but I had already made that trim, so there was no heading back, and I wasn't about to replace that piece. Okay. Get that secured on there, nice and tight. We'll lower the table back down. This little panel here. Like so. And now we'll move on to the upper fairing. Okay, the upper, we'll kind of dip it there under the fork sliders, work it around the radiator and the fairing stay. We'll get up in position, slide it back. And it's going to end up riding over the top of that. Push it over your OE fairing stay, like so. Put a little pressure on that and hold it there while I get the windscreen mounted. Okay, just need to get the fasteners started here, one side at a time. It's the same zero gravity screen that we used. You want to make sure that the boss for that fairing stay is through both this plastic piece and the race bodywork. Like so. These are just fasteners that I had in my spare fasteners. You want to make sure that this is all assembled correctly here. If you're trying to pinch the windscreen between the boss and the fastener you're using, it is going to crack the windscreen, which is no bueno. You can see I'm being pretty conservative with the amount of torque that I use here too. Now we need to raise the table up and we can begin assembling the mid and the lower fairings. Okay, there is a tab right here that you can use to put an additional fastener in if you choose to do so. I opted not to do that. Once again, sometimes less is more. If you happen to have a tip over, it's just gonna allow it to move more and break less. I did drill this mounting hole here, dead center on the boss. Eventually, what's gonna end up happening as we get this all assembled is this panel right here, the fastener that attaches this panel, is going to go through here, and into this well nut and mount it up right there. And that is enough in that area. Moving further backward, you also have a mounting hole here that bolts to the frame. This we are going to drill out. I drilled that dead center, and we're just using the OEM fasteners here. That panel that spans from the upper fairing, mid, and tank, right, to the tail, that has some Christmas tree clips on it that press through these rubber grommets. You could use one of those rubber grommets in this hole here. I decided not to do that, and I'm going to show you why as we assemble this. I really didn't think it was necessary to do that, but you have to drill a hole to allow that clip to pass through. Here is the mid. I drilled the mounting hole back here. Okay, and that's all that we're going to do. I chose not to use this mount back here, staying consistent with my whole less is more theory when it comes to fasteners. Go ahead and start the dues there. Come back here. reasonable level of torque. Installing this panel, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 Christmas tree clips. You do have a little clip here. It needs to engage in this slot. You have a hole here for the fastener, and there's another fastener that bolts right here to the fuel tank support. Drill the hole through the upper here to allow this to pass through, hole through the mid to allow that to pass through. We're going to utilize these 2 OEM rubber grommets here. I like to dip this piece in behind the upper, kind of rotate in. We're going to look in there, see that rubber grommet and Christmas tree clip lining themselves up, pushes in with very little resistance. Now we come up here, and I need to be able to see the hole that goes through the race bodywork, also through this little panel, and then locate that rubber well nut just beneath. Go ahead and torque that down. Grab the fastener here, and these are all just the OE fasteners from the Ninja for the back. Now we're ready to go to the other side. Okay, here's the mid. I did everything the same on this side that I did the other side. All these holes are just literally drilled dead center, okay? This tab is gonna stay under. This tab is gonna go over. Make sure that lines up real nice there. Let's go ahead and grab one of these fasteners, get this started here into the frame. Like so. All right, that all lines up real good. Now we're ready for this mid. Armour Bodies really does a fantastic job. I mean, this is so close in terms of fit and finish to bodywork that would retail for $1,200, right? And then they do cool shit that makes sense. And that's the Eric Wood factor. You know, he gets involved in test fitting all these kits and working with Armour Bodies to make sure that you're getting the best possible end result and best value for your money. It really shows through in all the stuff that they do here. Same gig here. 4 of those Christmas tree clips, lined or open hole rubber grommets are used here on the fuel tank. Let's go ahead and slide that bad boy in, find that open hole. Push that through, find your grommets, boom, and boom there. Now, you need to get a fastener for the hole up here. It's not in its fucking position, so I took it. All right, make sure everything's lined up. Here in the back, like so. Now we're ready to raise the bike up and put the lower fairing in. Okay, now we're gonna fit the lower fairing to the bike. Let's talk about how I choose where I'm going to put the deuce fasteners. Well, one of the first things I like to do is make sure I don't have any obstructions where the fastener, the head of the fastener is gonna pass through, like it's gonna rub on a radiator or a radiator hose or anything. So as I'm fitting this up, I get the upper fairing on there. I look and make sure we've got plenty of room back there, which we do in this case. Once I've identified that, any conflicts, I like to get the bodywork back off the bike, and I'll take the upper and the lower. And you can see here where the lower overlaps the upper fairing. This is where I usually have my kid Max help me out. We will line them up and hold them in place, right? Overlapping. I get a good body line, and then I have him trace inside using the bottom of the upper fairing, a line on the inside here. You know what? I'm gonna slide this back off, man. Let's see if you can see that through the paint. Yeah, look at that. You see it right there. You see that black line? That's where Max drew it. So now I knew how far down I could drill the hole. I want to pick the best spots to put the fasteners. You can see where I chose. I honestly didn't even measure this stuff, man. I just picked the spot that makes the most sense. And you want to make sure that you're drilling through somewhere between the top and bottom line. I start by drilling the hole through the lower fairing where it goes over the upper. Once I've drilled the holes, I then hold it back in place and I have Max once again take a Sharpie and he just traces the holes that I made onto the upper fairing. Now I know where to drill this so they line up perfectly. I do that one side at a time. I prefer to use the rivet-on style fasteners. I think you get a more professional end result. It is a little more difficult to do that. There's a little more drilling involved plus riveting, but I do think in the end you get a nicer result. But there you can do slip-ons if you prefer that. The biggest difference with a slip-on compared to a rivet-on is you're gonna have a little bigger gap here. This is gonna because the slip-on piece, the backing plate has a little thickness to it, so you're gonna have a little bigger gap here where these two come together. If you're cool with that, the slip-on are a lot easier to do. Mounting holes for the frame. I use the stock brackets on both sides. I'll show you the one on this side, and then we'll get to the other side. We'll show you that as well. There was not a dimple put in this, okay? So to identify where these holes needed to go, I first finished the deuce fasteners, got the upper back on the bike, installed the lower to the upper, and then was able to get behind here and mark the location to drill these holes, okay? So no dimples, you're gonna need to mark that. I'd also like to point out, these are all fortified. That's Kevlar backing. So when you drill through this, you have some thickness and some real strength to work with here. Now we'll go ahead and slide the lower over. Go to the other side, hit the fasteners. You can see the bracket that I used is right here. That is just the OE bracket. Like so. Okay, now we just need to bolt that up. I chose not to use OE fasteners here. I believe these are something I had from my spare kit. They just have a little bigger head than the OE stuff did. Hit the other side. No trimming at all on the lower. I didn't have to cut away or relief anything for the exhaust. Everything fit really good. Nice body lines. We are ready for our front fender. Okay, front fender. Drill the dead center, both sides. We're gonna use the OEM mounting hardware for the front. For the rear, I went in a different direction. I used hardware that I had myself. I've got some lock nuts and some bolts that are going to pass through the fork tube lowers. The OEM fender had some J-nuts that were installed here. I just chose not to use those. If you want to transfer that stuff over, feel free to do that. This fender will allow for that. It's important to note here too, at the front mounting bolts of the fastener, you've got a top hat spacer here. You need to drill out big enough so that spacer passes through like that, because the fender kind of floats on there. Go ahead and slide the fender over the fork. And we'll get the front mount first. 5mm internal hex. Make sure that jumps up and over. Like I showed you, that just kind of floats on there. So we can snug this up now, torque it. See that just gonna pivot forward. Now for the hole in the back, get that bad boy lined up. This is the same way that I mounted the Hot Bodies fender. So using all the same hardware. from that Fender install. Get the hole lined up here, get that bolt to go through, and then from there, get that locking nut on the back side of this. It is a little tight back there, but not too bad. That torque down, and we'll finish up the other side. Once again, make sure you get that top hat spacer lined up so it goes through the hole. Brake line mount is on this side. You want to make sure you catch that too. Pass through the fender. I was able to get that to grab. I don't need a backup wrench there. Same mount that I'd used before. And you can see, I mean, the kit really installs nicely. Takes a little more effort to do this one because of the additional fasteners, and you have those mid fairings here. And what I found is any bike where you're using these OEM side panels, another great example is going to be the Yamaha R3. It just complicates the install a little bit because you have all these different pieces coming together. With that said, Woodcraft/Armour Bodies did a fantastic job with the molding and the fitment of this kit. For being as complicated as it is, the end result is very good. And it's not that difficult to get there. I think if you follow the steps that I've shown you in this video, you're going to be able to get the same result I did. We're going to also shoot a separate video talking about the Superbike seat pan. I'm going to toss that back on the bike now just to shore up and finish up this video, but we'll have an additional piece focusing on just the seat unit. Okay, OEM seat, you got these two tabs here. You got your lock tab back here. Go ahead and slide those under the fuel tank support. Kind of find that spot, like so. The release for the seat, if you remember correctly, you used to have to take off your little passenger seat thing here, right? With this bodywork for your seat release, you could leave it in that stock mounting point right here. What I did on this bike, because the previous kit that we installed was the Hot Bodies kit, had no opening back here. Okay, I had to relocate it. So I moved the cable out of its mounting position back here, and I pulled it down here, exhaust bracket side, got it secured with some cable ties back here and a little piece of safety wire here to really hold it in place. And this is what I've been using, and it honestly has worked really, really good. So if you could leave that in position back here and you don't have to deal with that, cool, do that. If you like what you see here, it's a really easy move. Undo it over here, feed the cable down, secure it. I think we actually do show that in more detail in the Hot Bodies video. Put your little closeout panel back on here. It's kind of a neat touch that Woodcraft/Armour Bodies has kind of come up with. And note your seat height. We're going to do a separate video focusing on that Superbike seat pan. So there you have it. There is our Armour Bodies race bodywork kit install on our 2018 STG Ninja 400. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section of this video. I answer all that stuff myself. I try to stay on top of them, okay? If you have an urgent need, reach out to orders at sportbiketractor.com. If you can, wait a second for the answer, just leave it in the comment section. Hope you guys see that we're trying to invest time, resources, and effort into helping you guys get the same results from your projects that we do from ours. Bye.